Mr. Badrinath, AD Mr. Mayank Agarwal, faculty members and all the dear students. I welcome you all to this special lecture on cyber safety, and especially like it's a campaign on women and children, and especially like when we are talking about the safety of women and children in cyberspace. But before I start with this session and before I invite other speakers, just to put things in perspective, there are certain things which I would like to share with you. If you look at the population, the internet population, which I think you all know now because we had a session on that, out of the total population, there are only 29% women are there who are internet users, which means that it's a very small population. And there are a number of reasons for this. The reasons could be illiteracy, digital illiteracy. It is like the paucity of time because the women, like whenever the survey was conducted, women said that they don't have luxury to spend 2-3 days. The safety of women on the cyberspace, on online space. I don't know as a journalist whether you are aware of this particular episode, Goenka Award for her work in the field of journalism. And she posted and like she was recounting her experiences. And that particular post actually, she got a lot of Facebook actually blocked her account. And the Facebook blocked her account because they got a lot of complaints against that particular message and they blocked her account. So when we are talking about the online space, later on, yes, there are a lot of things happened. There was a committee which was set up to look into that issue. But when we look at this online space and when we talk about the women being online, it is empowering, but at the same time, there are a lot of challenges also. Right? So this is one thing because as a journalist, you need to know that, when we are talking about being on online, internet, there are a number of issues related to that. So this is about women. Now, if you look at the children, I think I'll share one small incident with you because I will not get a better occasion than this. We don't talk much about the kids here, but I'll just share with you one small incident. It happened 5 years ago. I was going to my daughter's school and I was going to drop her to school. I was holding her hand and we were walking towards her classroom. We were in the school premises and we actually saw 2 boys who were walking in front of her and we could listen to whatever they were actually discussing. So there was this one boy who he said singing, dancing and googling. So when I listened to him, even like at that point of time, my daughter, she pressed my hand hard and she looked at me and she said that, see, this is a hobby. But one thing which we have to consider whenever we talk about hobbies, and I think it is, because if children are saying that it is a hobby, we never send our students to learn about this particular thing. We take this for granted. They are consuming a lot of messages on web, they are consuming a lot of messages from television, radio, newspaper. We never tell them how to consume those media messages. So these are the things which we are actually going to talk about today. And I'm sure Ms. Parry Aftab, she has done a lot of work in these areas and she'll share her experiences also. So welcome, Parry. And now I would like to invite our DG and I would like to welcome her, Parry. Tulsi is a very sacred plant in India. And we have one gift also as a token of appreciation. And now sir to come to stage, and I would like to.
It's a very special task.
To this institute, he teaches economic journalism to our students. Right now, he's editor, policy, financial chronicle, and he has actually worked with the leading newspapers like Hindustan Times, Economic Times, Financial Express. I would like to invite him to briefly interact with our students.
Regular students are here. Many of them I've interviewed before admission here. So they're not very new. Now I have a different role today. Apart from being a visiting faculty here, I'm also the managing trustee of India Foundation for Rural Development Studies. It's a think tank. I have media professionals and rural cooperatives, and I head that think tank. And we do a lot of development activities. And we also have a magazine on development called SOPA. Many of the students in previous years have written for us a lot of development stories. And many of us have interned with us also. So that association is there. We do a lot with the farmers, we do a lot of farmers related activities, and we have child care centers. All of this done by media professionals and cooperatives. And we always invite a lot of distinguished people to speak with us at the foundation. At last visit of Parry, we had invited around to the foundation, and we had about 20 journalists there. We were trying to first understand what cyber security is, what cyber laws are about, what is cyber safety issues, how is it relevant to India, can we link it up somewhere with the media professionals, do they have a role to play, because we are all serious stakeholders in the cyber technology, because with the new media department opening up, thanks to Suresh. So point here is that this is all an interconnected world. And I will take just 1 minute, Anubhuti. I just had something to... Yesterday, in fact, the National Crimes Record Bureau has come up with statistics on the kind of cyber crimes that are happening globally. And with specific reference to India, I quote Indian Express and say, today's edition, if you have read it, there are all kinds of cyber crimes happening in this country. In last 1 year, we have 8,121 people who have been arrested for different cyber crimes. And internet has become unsafe as well. While we are getting digitized world over, or we are being interconnected, globally, and we ourselves want to be a digitized economy, we have a responsibility at our hand. In that, say for example, I can just take 1 second and I leave the floor to Parry, who is an expert on this issue. So for example, you have at least 2,474 crimes that have been committed only on women and children. These are known crimes, but like bullying, people extorting sex, problem of kids getting over to the net. My own daughter, who's just 16 years, she has bluffed her age, and she has got onto the Facebook with a fake account. Suddenly I realized one day, she sent me a request for joining her group. And when did my daughter have a Facebook account? I have no idea. Then slowly her mother comes to me and says, "Look ji, इनका account खुल गया, आप भी उसमें join कीजिए." I mean, amazing. And see, technology can work both ways, mind you. So how well we can use technologies to our advantage. like the present government wants to use the technology to spread the economic goodness. The same way, but at the same time, we have a responsibility. For example, if you see, the National Crime Record Bureau says there were at least 415 arrests because these are all sex freaks who are moving over the internet. They have to be arrested. There is no other way. There are several crimes that are happening and we don't know. We have no idea. And it is not just India, sir. World over, the statistics say that there is a 300% increase in the cyber crimes globally in the last 3 years. And there is a study done by PricewaterhouseCoopers which says that these crimes, it includes both social crimes as well as economic crimes. They target nuclear power plants. They can target your economic infrastructure. And they can target the social fabric of this country, which is known for its civilizational classical values. So, in this context, I thought Parry would add value to our discourse, and she would expect what we would like we should do. What should be the cyber regulation? What is our role as budding journalists or who are established in the field, and we have a serious responsibility with us, and henceforth I would love that you should listen to Parry and understand how we would have to react to this situation. Thank you so much.
I know that you're all waiting to listen to Ms. Parry, but first a little bit about Parry. Parry Aftab is one of the first cyber lawyers in the world. She is known for her work in the emerging field of internet law and helped establish best practice standards for the internet industry. Dr. Aftab works closely with the law enforcement, the internet industry, educational institutions and government agencies worldwide. She is often called upon to create innovative programs to address digital risk and is known for her practical approaches. She is legal and risk management expert in all aspects of the internet best practices, privacy, cybercrime, prevention and abuse management. Her expertise extends to online gambling, cyber terrorism, cyberbullying, violence against women, crimes against children, and interactive gaming. As Managing Director of Wire Trust, a digital risk management consulting firm, she advises industry and policymakers. She is an award-winning columnist for Information Week magazine and has authored several books, including the first book in the world for parents on cyber safety in 1996, just a year after when the internet went public in India. She helped design Singapore's PAGI program, educating parents on cyber safety in 1999. More than 21 years ago, she founded the first cyber safety help group, for which she still volunteers as executive director. She also founded Stop Cyberbullying Global and the new Cyber Safety India Trust to address issues like cyber abuse, cyber safety, cyber crimes, and digital literacy for all stakeholders in India. In fact, this is a very long CV, very long bio, and in fact what happened that, frankly speaking, when I started researching, because I had to introduce Parry, and when I went on web, I was lost. There are hundreds of pages which gives us information about Parry, and there are a lot of videos which are available there on the YouTube. If you want to listen to her, you can listen to her there. But right now, I would like to invite Parry to address us.
Basically, we're the ones that are supposed to review what they're doing and tell them what not to do. Sometimes they even listen. Facebook owns WhatsApp. I'm on there because of that. Part of my role is looking at WhatsApp issues. They own Instagram, which really hasn't launched seriously in India yet, but will soon. And I advise most of the industry on these issues and governmental entities. India is something else. So I came to India when I was 2 with my parents to see the Taj Mahal. And I've been meaning to come back ever since. In the 63 years since I had been here last, It was on my bucket list. But something always kept me busy as I created programs on cyber safety around the world. It never occurred to me that India would not have a cyber safety program and that you would have nothing on cyberbullying and digital crimes against children. When Sri Sri Ravi Shankar from Art of Living invited me to come and speak at the World Culture Festival in March, I was blown away by the opportunity to speak to 3.5 million people in person. It took us 5 hours to go from the Leela ambiance, the old Kempinski, to where the World Culture Festival was being hosted. 5 hours. I started to understand the scope of India. The stage was 7 acres, 7 stories, 35,000 musicians, 22,000 dancers. And I realized that is India. When we talk in terms of hundreds in the United States, you talk in terms of 10,000. Someone today at one of the schools says there are going to be millions of us. I said, no, you're India. Billions. So, I came here, I was invited to speak. I was fortunate enough to be invited to speak at the Global Leadership Forum. And I spoke to a number of people. Someone from Google was next to me. Everybody else was from India. The person who runs the Business World magazine and publishing group, and a number of other people from different parts of the world who were Indian. And we were cut back to a half hour. Our presentation that was supposed to be an hour and 15 minutes was cut back to a half hour because the group before ours talked too much. And I was the last speaker. So everybody else talked as long as they were going to talk, and I had 2 minutes. So instead of talking about the future of digital technology and digital and the human, I told them why I do what I do. And I'm going to share that with you. Many journalists have written about this. There have been books I've been included in that have written about why I do what I do. But it's important as I try to bring you into my cyber army of journalists and researchers and people who can help change bad things, that you understand why I do this. Long before I started doing this, I was a very rich lawyer. You couldn't talk to me for under a $50,000 retainer, US. And if I could solve your problems over lunch, it was a very expensive lunch for you. And I was one of the first cyber lawyers in the world. We didn't intend to create cyber law. We were just chatting late at night, and there were 4 other lawyers who would chat with me. Usually somebody was drinking wine or beer, and I'm not sure how good the chats were, but judges would read what we said and the next day decide cases based upon our discussions, often drunk. So I became one of the first cyber lawyers in the world. And CNN called and they asked me if I would appear and talk about internet safety and laws in the United States. I hadn't been on CNN before. I was very happy to be on CNN. It's probably the worst interview that CNN has ever conducted, but my hair looked better than ever. In the end, that's all that matters when you do TV. If your hair looks good, remember this as a journalist, hair looks good, everything else is fine. So whenever I share that interview, I show it with the sound off. So after I finished this interview and I explained that the law that they were trying to put in place in the United States was unconstitutional, parents started calling my law firm. How do we protect our children? So my secretary and receptionist would say, she doesn't protect children, she protects corporations. Go find a soccer mom. Well, that didn't work really well. So they kept calling, and eventually I called my sister. My sister is a doctor. My sister is younger than I am. Now you know what's going to happen, right? So I called her and I said, I do important things. You work with children. Find a book the parents could read to keep their children safe on the internet, and so they'll leave me alone. So she came back the next day and she said, there's no book. It was 1996. 1990, very early 1996. There's no book, she said, for parents. So I said, go look again. And she said, I already looked. I said, the reason I went to law school and became the smarter of the two of us and read is because you went to medical school and you don't read. So she did what younger sisters did. She said, you have to write the book. I said, I'm not going to write a book. I'm your older sister. I'm smarter than you are. I'm a lawyer. You're not. So she said, fine. I'm calling Mom. So she called my mother, and I wrote the very first book on internet safety in the world in 1996. And I've written others around the world in different places, in South and Central America, for Spain, for Singapore. The first book on internet safety for China, I wrote in English. It was translated to Mandarin. I don't know if they really said what I told them to say. But I wrote the book. And my mom was happy, finally. So I now became known as this internet safety person, which is a nice thing if you want to change the world, a very bad thing if you're a very expensive lawyer who charges $50,000 if you want to talk to me. Because now I have to talk to everybody for free. Thank you, Mom. So I was on television, did all these different things, and then someone sent me an email. There was a woman from Argentina, and she said, I found a website, shut it down, put the people in jail. So I clicked on the link. It went to an internal page that just had names and numbers. Maria 3, Juan 4, Miguel 18 months. They were the names of children and their ages, and the images were of them being raped. I clicked on Maria 3. I see that face, eyes closed, as they made her pose the camera. Well, I'm a mother and now a grandmother, and many of you are parents and have younger siblings, and you may even remember yourself that the magic of being young is when you close your eyes, you're invisible. So how often your children will close their eyes, and because they can't see you, they think, I'm here, it's magic, you're invisible! And the kids giggle. But this little girl closed her eyes so that she wouldn't have to look into the camera and see further humiliation to top the pain she was feeling physically. I got sick to my stomach. I had enough money then, because I used to charge $50,000 for lunch. I took my kids out of private universities and I sold a very big and expensive house, and we changed our lives. I rented an apartment and I took every dollar I had to create an organization that's still the oldest organization in the world to help people when things go wrong on the internet. 16,000 volunteers in 76 countries around the world, and none of us is no offices. We're purely virtual because we don't have enough money for offices. And if you dial the number, and don't you dare write about this, if you dial the number on our website, it's my cell phone rings. But we've rescued, although not that little girl, I never found her, thousands of others. We've infiltrated sex trafficking rings under the Prime Minister's authority in the UK. And put people in jail, and many men, when they were arrested, decided to take their own lives rather than being called out for molesting children. I live with death threats. If you Google me as a hobby, you will see that according to 4chan and Anonymous, I was arrested for molesting children frequently. And people call me names and tell me how fat I am. That's not a surprise. But they threaten the lives of my children and others. But I do what I do, hoping one day I will find another little girl that nobody else has rescued. So this is what I do. So Sri Sri called, and he said, he didn't personally call, the head of international called and said, would you come and speak at the World Culture Festival? And I said, I'm going to tell you how old I am. Ravi Shankar of George Harrison and the Beatles? You don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? He was like one of the big gurus to the Beatles. So I thought that was Sri Sri. And I'm like, no. So I said, what is art of living? Art of breathing, you know that? And I was like, no. I had learned all about them very quickly and came to India. And then my life changed. This was March 11. My husband came with me. I already knew I loved dosa, so I was very happy when I was in South India and anyone I could talk to here who would make me dosa. And I live vegetarian at the ashram for 5 days. I don't like that. And curry, if it's too hot, you'll find me drinking about 9 tons of water. But I love India. I love the people here. And I hate the concept of the Raj, that a country of kind people who are open to others can be taken advantage of for other people. And I've felt that way for many years. So I came here, and there was an article. And so see, you can be a journalist. Parents in India were afraid of cyberbullying. One of my programs is Stop Cyberbullying Global. We've been doing it for 22 years. So I said to my husband, find the organization that does cyberbullying and we'll help them. And he came back and said, there wasn't one. I said, well then find a cyber safety organization and we'll help them create cyberbullying programs. And there wasn't one. And the next thing I know, when I talked about it on LinkedIn, was all of my friends in India, from the head of government relations for IBM, down to people who worked for a basmati rice company, said, you have to create it. Well, you just had Facebook, who was trying to create an affordable means of the internet that gave you access to Facebook, National Geographic, and the Weather Channel, I think. That's not the country you are. You're going to exist with 3 sites. And so I said, I will do it, only if it's Indian. I will do it only if it's new. I will do it if it's research-based so we understand the needs and create the programs from scratch that include Indian values that are available in 31 languages, online, offline, and blended. Rich, poor, tier 1 urban, the tiniest villages that are hand-pumping water. Everyone will have the skills they need to take the benefits of the internet and be free of crime. And people joined. I was crowded when I spoke at the World Leadership Forum. I had 500 people come up to me. Security had to get me out there. Everybody wanted a selfie. Everybody, the slum children, charities came up to me and they said, we need your help, ma'am. And I said, well, I do sexual exploitation of children in real life, but in India we're just going to do digital. And they said, no, we have a problem with digital and our slum children. Apparently they all have smartphones. Not enough food, no place to sleep, but smartphones. And even if they don't have a data package, they can access Wi-Fi in a lot of different places. And for 10 rupees, they can download porn onto a SIM card at a local store. And today I learned that often that porn are images of girls in that area that have been captured and are then being sold. So I knew there was a need. And there was an energy. And the parents said, how do we protect our children from porn? And you've had suicides, one highly publicized, many others not, on morphine. You have cyberbullying in the inner cities as much as you do other places. And the kids in the ashram said, we heard about cyberbullying. Somebody who has a cousin in Delhi has a brother-in-law from Mumbai who knew about it from Bangalore. But they want to stop fraud on the internet and the sites that pretend to be something they're not. So when they search on Google and they get these sites that have porn or fraud or trying to sell you things in a way they shouldn't, the kids aren't getting what they want. That's a very sophisticated answer. So let me tell you why I'm here. I'll talk about any of the issues of cybercrime you want to. Protecting women and children, sexual exploitation on the internet is huge. Children are being trafficked here. The market for them as they're being sold is done online, auctions online, sex, tourism online. You decide how old and what gender and how many, and you can book them online. You can get an Uber car to take you to where you're going to traffic and deal with children. And women, 500 rapes last year were videotaped and shared on WhatsApp. Double humiliation. How many more? Men are being victimized as well. Sexual preference issues, They're the wrong color, the wrong religion, came from the wrong town, the wrong caste. I know you don't have castes anymore, but you have castes. And the internet is used to spread hate. All you have to do is look at Donald Trump for 5 minutes. I call him a mean girl cyberbully in the New York Times. It's probably not safe to go back to the United States. So the internet is the most powerful tool we have ever had for good. It has helped find kidneys for people with unusual blood types. It has helped find solutions and homes for children. It has helped people find each other when they've been lost forever. You will learn things, you will share things, you can be discovered wherever you are. The library of the internet is open 24/7. And then there's all junk. Spam, trying to sell you Viagra, trying to pretend they're something else, trying to steal your data, credential theft, pretending they're you, hacking your account on Facebook, saying mean things and changing your password so you can't get out of trouble as your friends think you did it. Sound familiar? So, I will answer questions, but first let me tell you why I'm here. I'm here because I need you. Pure and simple. I'm targeting a few groups of young people, millennials here in India, to help me as my cyber army against cyber crime. I want to make the internet safe so that the 8-year-olds aren't going to see porn every time they look for fun and safe content. I want parents to know what to do so that they're not overreacting and turning off the internet because they think their kids are wasting their time and can help guide them. I want to help the senior citizens be able to talk to their grandchildren in New York without being caught by fraud. And when the senior citizens take off their clothes, when they're cyber dating, I want to make sure that we can get those pictures down before those grandchildren in New York see them. But we need research for that. If it's going to be an Indian program, I need Indians. I want you to do research. I will give you storylines. I appear in more media than anybody else in the world when it comes to cyber safety. Books have been written about me. I was on CNN twice a week, the Today Show at least once or twice a week, CNN International, BBC, everywhere. Print, television, radio. I'll give you storylines, things people don't have. We have more data and experience than anyone else. I'll get you published in a way that might get you a lot of notice. What you need to do is write. What you need to do is research. What you need to do is think. I want you to find out what the needs are all over India. So if you're here from a little place near Chennai, then find out what the kids, your cousins, nieces, nephews, anybody else you knew, find out what they're doing, what they need. Ask questions. When you find out the things you need to know, I want you to write. I want you to write for Badri. I want you to write for me. I will create sites on the internet under the new Cyber Safety India brand, which is a new Indian trust run by Indians. Oh, and by the way, the man who invented the internet. You want to help? Intriguing. Got some ideas? Yeah. So, I need you. How many of you are willing to help? All right, I want you to look around. Whoever doesn't raise their hand, keep your hands up if you're going to help me. Raise your hands. Okay, everybody? All right, whoever doesn't raise their hands, look at them very carefully. We are going to now cyberbully them on WhatsApp. So I want you to take very embarrassing pictures of them wherever you find them and start posting them all over the internet. Sorry, lying. So, let's talk about what your issues are. What questions do you have about how to protect yourselves or others or policies or what we need to do to change? Yes?
Ma'am, I'm Harit. By the way, thank you for this session. So my question is related to DNS blocking of URLs. We know that I think we can safely agree that DNS blocking or accessing or rather restricting access to its overburdened judiciary and police system, that this can be implemented.
Okay, you've got to remember I'm a stranger in this country. So I'm not going to make any comment that has political overtones or is critical of the political system. However, blocking of DNS blocking, it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Uses so that if they blew up New York You could still talk with people in New York by going through Chicago. So it was designed to get around these things. I wasn't aware that they were doing DNS blocking. I spent some time with their Minister of IT, Mr. Badri, who knows him well. And he said that he was unhappy with content on YouTube that is counter to Indian values. And he saw it as Western imperialistic behavior. So I believe in a country that builds all of the world technology, that we need to teach people to use this filter, the one between their ears. Children, you protect. Whitelist, closed-walled gardens, only the things that are safe, not porn, not hate, not bigotry, none of those things. But as adults, there's a lot that we need to have access to. And the people who decide what you can see and what you can't see, if they are not illegal content, child pornography, some of the terrorism, some of the other things, I'm not sure why that's being done. I don't know. I'm a cyber lawyer, but not one from India. But the top cyber lawyers in India are part of our program. So I think we need to start looking at that. Ways of protecting vulnerable people from harmful content, however we define any of those things, in a way that doesn't affect the rights of individuals under your own country's charters and constitutions to access to information. So if it's porn, that's one thing, and I understand that Google has been involved in funding free Wi-Fi at rail stations that are being used pretty exclusively for group viewing of pornography. So I don't know what it is, but I know that those are controversies. So unless we start teaching people how to cull the right content themselves, you're raising a group of people who are building technology that they'll never be able to use. Yes? It was a website that was created out of Latvia to allow anonymous communications, and it was used largely for cyberbullying and cyber stalking. I knew about it. In the United States, we have a law that gives immunity to websites and social networks for any content that they don't directly have control over. So there are two different ways of looking at regulating content. One is the publisher method, the other is the bookstore method. So if somebody writes a book and it's defamatory, and you are someone who owns a bookstore and it's one of thousands of books you're selling, can they sue you because it's a defamatory book? The courts, at least in the UK and the United States, have said no. You don't have control over the content, you won't have access to know everything about it, you're not in a position to be responsible. However, if you're the publisher, you have a different level of responsibility. So you can sue the publisher for defamation because they knew or should have known, they should have read it, they should be responsible and fact-check to make sure it before it goes out. So in the United States, they were looking at, are the websites bookstores or are they publishers? And in the end, the courts and the legislature decided that they were bookstores. So you couldn't sue all of the social networks for things that people put on them. But if it was editorial content, they were paying them, they worked for them, they were in control, then they were a publisher. I knew that we couldn't shut down Ask.fm because they were out of the reach of the US government. They were in Latvia and ignoring us. And I knew that we couldn't sue them in US courts because the Communications Decency Act that gave them immunity. So I was very instrumental in changing that. I worked with the New York Attorney General and others on finding different ways around it, and eventually, using copyright provisions, got Ask.com, the website that has information, to sue them for copyright infringement because they were using the Ask brand. They ended up winning, earning the site back. That's part of what they got. They paid them a little bit of money, and they took it over and cleaned it up. The moment it was cleaned up, nobody used it anymore, but it was cleaned up. So you have to be very novel and innovative sometimes to address these issues. Those are addressed. Negations of one. Do something. I was on their board for a while. I find that some things can be helpful. For the most part, the only way to change behavior and to deal with these issues is at the user level. So young people need to turn around and say, this isn't going to happen when I'm around. I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to put up with it. and that happens, then it will change. So we're working with the Pearl Academy that's coming up with it here. It's coming up with a new fashion tagline, which is cyberbullying is out of fashion. And cyberbullying is fashionable. Finding different ways of coming up with messages. I hope you will help do that. But I work with Amanda Todd's mother. We can talk about the suicides. You've had many here. A lot relating to morphing, which is far more dangerous here. You're looking at honor killings and the rest that will result. So in India, cyber safety is a matter of life and death.
Thank you, Parry. Unfortunately,
Compelling. Explain in a way that is real to all of these young women who think that they can improve their lives by taking jobs as models or maids in Europe and marrying somebody in the United States. You need to talk about the realities. You need to research and report the real cases in enough ways and communicate them in the right ways to reach your target audiences so they'll say, ooh, it's not, don't do that, they might trick you. If they're doing this, they are tricking you. This is a woman who was trafficked. This is a woman who is now dead. This is a woman whose children were trafficked because she was recruited to Europe. Your job is to change the world and protect the world and light up dark corners in the world. That's your job. And you're the only ones who can do it. I get people arrested, but hardly at all. Unless we can change the behavior where people put themselves at risk, it will continue. We won't get it all, but you're going to be able to get a lot. Make it real. I will help you. Yes.
When I post photos on social networking sites.
All go on this mother. Change the world. Do you have a fashion design? Do you have a band? What pictures are you sharing and for what purpose?
I'm most
Of your friends and having fun.
photograph.
2017 here. Some are using it. Instagram's designed just for that. Okay? And you don't have to tell people who you are. Photo of a beautiful sunset or something else. You can have a public setting so the rest of the world can see it. Or this cup. Doesn't have to be you. And you have very restricted. Now, if it's pictures of your friends and your family and you, restrict those to your audience. Only friends or friends of friends. Why'd you tell Facebook you are?
18.
18. 13, you were lying. And your mother's in the audience. Say you're 13 and older, you're off. If you lie and say you're things, you talk to 18 and 19-year-olds over. And you're going to think they're kind of creepy because you're 12 or 13. But they don't know you are.
It's my question. So if there's one more question, someone can ask. So I'm taking the ownership of those two questions. I just want to ask is that every school, my daughter is 12 years old, and every school gives a homework for which they have their research work, they have to consult the internet. Okay. So how do I...
I'm hearing you just fine. Ignore everything
How
he's
do
doing.
I ensure...
Sites that are credible and real. So if you go to martinlutherking.org, it's a white supremacist site. But teachers may think it's about Martin Luther King, but it's not. You have to read very carefully to realize it's disguised hate. So we are working with teachers to teach them how to evaluate resources. A. We are working with schools to help parents understand how to keep your kids safe, understand good from bad content, and what you need to know about this. The kids have to have access. It's important for their future. It's important for their education. It's important for India. But we need to make sure that it's the right access and you know what you need to know. So we're going to have programs on cyber moms and cyber dads to train you on what you need to know, to answer your questions when you need them answered. And most importantly, we are going to be working with parents and students, and maybe some journalism students, to find the best sites and credible sites, review them using Indian field programs. We'll create technology that will spot them. When they're young, it's only those that are appropriate for them in a locked, walled garden. They take an app and they can only be where it's safe. So we will get you there. We're working with schools. And I'll answer your other question later if you walk out with me. Okay, who was the yes?
And it was wonderful listening to you. Can we have a round of applause for that?
You want to work with us who don't want to be cyberstalked on WhatsApp.
No, it's because it's 5 o'clock now. Otherwise, all of them will raise hands.
Yeah, we won't cyber out all of them. It's 5.
organizing this particular talk here. And I would like to invite Anshu to propose a vote of thanks.
And every major corporation in the world. I'm going to be putting together a core of students who will be acting as local journalists.
इसके लिए मैं आपके बीच में हूँ। संख्या बहुत कम है यहाँ पर, लेकिन ये सब लोग बहुत जरूरी हैं और ये एक कार्यक्रम है और आने वाले दिनों में इसको अभियान के तौर पे हम सब लोग इसको आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं, तो आप सब लोग उसके एक अहम कड़ी के तौर पे इनफोर्स आप सब लोगों को देखिए। तो इस कार्यक्रम की कड़ी में ये पूरा कार्यक्रम सफल नहीं हो पाता अगर IIMC और केजी सुरेश सर का साथ नहीं होता, तो हम धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे केजी सुरेश सर और IIMC को। आप लोग भी इसकी अहम कड़ी है, क्योंकि ये मंच होता आप ना होते तो ये कार्यक्रम भी ना होता, तो आप सब लोगों का धन्यवाद कि आप सब आज तरीके से इस पूरे कार्यक्रम को जैसे मानवा को जोड़ते हैं बहुत सारे अलग अलग स्कूल को मिलाकर, वैसे इस पूरे कार्यक्रम को उन्होंने आप सबके सामने प्रस्तुत किया, तो अनुभूति मैम का धन्यवाद। मयंक अग्रवाल सर का धन्यवाद। यहाँ आमतौर पे इस तरह कार्यक्रमों में जाता हूँ तो ये जो साउंड होता है उसमें कभी ना कभी कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, फिर ढूंढना पड़ता है कौन है किसने किया, लेकिन यहाँ ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई, लाइट की प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई। और ये सब कुछ होता और पैरी ना होती तो फिर एक कार्यक्रम कैसे होता। थैंक यू। दो लोग और रह गए हैं हमारी न्यू मीडिया टीम से। मोहित है, उन्होंने अभी ज्वाइन किया है और जो पूरा प्रोग्राम है उसको हम लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट कर रहे थे हमारे YouTube चैनल पर, और सचिव यहाँ पर है, ही वाज कोऑर्डिनेटिंग दैट एंड एक छोटा सा परिचय कराना है। हमारे बीच लक्ष्मी सिंह जी हैं। लक्ष्मी जी डार्विन इंस्टीट्यूट में है और बहुत ही कमिटमेंट के साथ इस मुहिम के साथ जुड़ी हुई है।